Welcome back to the Revamp Podcast. Today, super excited. Got Rob Lawrence with us.
Hey.
Agent extraordinaire, real estate investor with VRA. And we're going to get into some stuff related to how people can get started on their investment journey and everything, right? And
yeah, I mean, that's one of the things I'm really passionate about, which is helping people build wealth through real estate. And I think there's so many ideas out there, like people know, okay, yeah, flipping a house is a good idea, or I want to make money in real estate. And there's this divide between like wanting to do it and executing. And that's one of the things that my team specializes in helping people do, is helping newer people execute flips or live in flips or rentals. And we've been doing that successfully a lot over the past year. And over the past couple of years, I just sat down with a client who bought a quad in Royersford, and it was nice. He was like, you know, Rob, I do have to tell you that deal did change my life.
no shit.
Yeah. And
That's impactful, dude.
yeah, because I mean, he lives for free, you know, and then like changed his whole thing. And he had just met me on Zillow, and we looked at some different options. It was a crazy deal. We ended up getting, I think, $90,000 off asking price.
No crap.
And dude, it's a 6,000 square foot quad he bought for $400,000 in Royersford.
Nice.
And it's huge and got, you know, all these. Anyway, it's an old property. It's cool, but anyway, it's fun. Like, just had somebody like 2 weeks ago bought a 775. They're gonna put 200 into it. It's probably worth 1.2, 1.25. So they made over 200 grand. So anyway, we're really getting into just like those numbers with people and teaching them how to do it. And those people that just did that deal, like when they met me, they were like, we know we want buying a house to kind of be like a good investment, but we really don't know much more than that. And I was like,
Right.
let's make a game plan, let's execute. So, you know, we created this live and flip course.
Dude, yeah, I want to hear all about that.
Yeah, it's super simple. I mean, it's just like 10 videos, 5 minutes each. And it just goes through like financing, the concept, what the tax benefits are, you know, how to figure out the numbers. I was just on a call with my one friend who's going through a tough time. But anyway, he needs to buy a place to live, and we were going through how I look at doing a live and flip. He was showing me his deal. I was analyzing the deal with him. We were looking at how much is it going to be worth when it's done, how much can he put into it. I was like, okay, like, look, yeah, I like this deal. You're going to make like $75,000. And the live and flipper has a huge advantage over me and you.
Absolutely.
Right? As you know, because it's like, you don't have all the costs that we have as flippers with the expensive money and the out sale and all that other stuff. And we don't have time for inflation to really do its thing either. So,
And they don't have to worry about taxes, right?
dude, that's a huge thing. Because, yeah, you got 250 individual, 500 couple. So, yeah, you can make 500 grand as a married couple and not pay taxes on that. And that's like, okay, 750, 800,000 in income that you would have, you know, had to make and save. So it's like a huge, huge, huge opportunity for people to build wealth.
Yeah.
And then it can be a launching point, you know, to use that equity to go into either rentals or flipping. But like, not everybody might take that next step.
Sure.
But even like 50 grand, you know, equity to somebody who just really was, you know, maybe a little more paycheck to paycheck, that's a huge life-changing buffer that gets put into their life.
Dude, absolutely. And that's why, like, right before we started recording, right, I mentioned to you that that's kind of how I started, too. I did a live-in flip over in Ridley, and, yeah, it was life-changing for me because once I was done, I was able to put a home equity line of credit against that house that I was already doing the live-in flip anyway.
Right.
And that allowed me to go start buying flips, buying rentals just with my home equity line of credit before I even technically completed the live-in flip. You know what I mean? I was still living there. I hadn't actually flipped it yet and bought our next house, but it served as a springboard for me.
You know, I hear that like from so many investors like yourself. I know you've been awesomely successful. It's awesome to be here, by the way. I appreciate you having me.
Absolutely, man.
Checking out your building and all the different setup you guys. It's so cool to see. But you know, it's again, it's like that one seed, right? Like, okay, I learned how to lay floor. I understand how this is working. And it's sort of like, I think there's like the Dave Ramsey baby steps to get out of debt. Yeah. It's like, I want to make like the RLT baby steps, how to invest in real estate and build wealth in real estate.
Okay.
And I think like, you know, I'm sort of like playing with that idea, but like, I know that the live and flip is a really good way to start, and I've seen so many people start. I started with a live and flip. I actually did one where I failed, and then I did another one where I have succeeded very substantially. So the one I did that I failed, I did when I was 26. I just knew buy a fixer-upper. You know, someone's like, buy real estate. It was like 2010. I should have been like buying a foreclosure for like dirt.
Right.
But I didn't really have like good guidance on these kinds of things. I didn't have the knowledge that I have today. And I think I ended up losing money on that deal actually, because I didn't buy it low enough for the amount of work that it really needed. And so I put more into it and sold it for less than I think I actually even paid for the house.
Really?
Yeah. I think I bought it for $229, sold it for $225 like 7 years later.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So, you know, I had that experience where I suffered from not really knowing what to do. So now, you know, I think we all have experiences in life that like kind of make us passionate about something.
Dude, absolutely. And now you can steer and guide people away from that painful experience and mistake that you made, which makes it even more impactful.
Dude, I saw another guy. I love telling stories, a lot of good stories, but like it was a neighbor's son-in-law and daughter, and they had bought a fixer-upper, and they're like, all right, we can live in this and we can fix it up as they go, and they overpaid for it. They paid probably $405. I would have paid $330 probably for it. And they started digging into things. They figured out the HVAC was actually in the slab. They figured out that plumbing was in the slab.
Holy crap.
They needed to HVAC, re-pull the plumbing out, and there was just tons of cosmetic work, needed a roof. And I mean, the renovation was like 80-something thousand. And these guys bought with an FHA loan, had no available cash, really. And they thought, oh, we're just going to kind of work our way through this. But then once they realized the real mechanics of the house weren't good, they were really in trouble. And I went into the house, and there was a giant pit in the kitchen where they had dug out, and there was dirt, cabinets were removed. And they were in a lot of pain.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I can imagine.
So I just said to him, look, like I could buy this house cash for $330 right now, but I think I can take it to market and do better for you. I think we ended up getting like $372.5.
Okay.
So another investor bought it, and I was like, all right, God bless your numbers. Hey, whatever you want to do. But we put it to market, got it done for him. But the guy, they lost a substantial amount of money, and I could see that was extremely painful and also financially setback. For them as well. And I just said to him, I was like, next time, please call me, like before you go to do stuff, because this is not a game. Like, you can really
it's real, man. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, look, if you had done that live and flip and misstepped, right, it would have set you back years, and then you'd have to start resaving and start back over.
Absolutely, man. The mistakes and issues you can run into are massive. So before I started, dude, I hired a mentor. I paid $5,000 that I didn't have for a mentor. And I was pretty cocky and young at the time. I was 22 years old. I was like, I already know everything I need to know. No, now I know that I don't know anything, dude. Like that's the only thing I'm certain of today. But like I really didn't think that there was much that I would have misstepped or done wrong.
Yeah.
But I did know enough to know that putting money into a coach or a mentor, I would guarantee that I'm going to get an ROI out of it, you know? And that being said, now in hindsight, I can look back and be like, he probably stopped me from stepping in at least 12 bear traps, So what's $5,000 when you could lose $100,000 on a deal,
I think like what we're doing is something you could potentially charge for as like a mentor or something.
No question.
But right now what we just do is like, hey, we get paid our commission to do the deal, and that's fine. Like, and we're guiding the clients. I mean, the course that I have is free. And you don't even have to give me your contact information. You go on my website and just go to the course. You can watch the videos there.
That's awesome.
They're on my YouTube channel. I really, I think I truly am passionate about helping people build wealth through real estate. And I'm like, look, I'm going to just put it out there. Mm-hmm. If after you watch those 10 videos, you don't want to call me, then I didn't make a very good course, did I?
Yep.
So just give it away.
I love that.
And give it to people. And look, you can watch that information if you're in California or if you're in Wisconsin or Texas. It's all the same basic, understanding. There's stuff that's particular.
Fundamentals. Yeah.
It's all fundamentals. And I mean, there's stuff particular to our area, which is, that we know, like, okay, you got a lot of older houses, you got knob and tube, there's basement water issues, there's things that are particular to our area. You got to watch out for. Stucco is another one, right? That might be, stucco in Arizona might not be a problem because it doesn't rain, but like, anyway, that stuff's just there for everybody to have. So maybe we can link that down below or something.
We'll definitely link it.
Yeah.
Real quick though, for anybody that's not familiar with the term live-in flip, like how would you define that?
It's funny. Like when I was a young kid, even I can remember maybe being like 10 years old, and my mom goes, "Just buy the worst house on the block. Buy the worst house on the block. You can't go wrong." Now, again, that's half true.
Yeah, fair.
If you pay too much for the worst house on the block, that's a problem. But
that's right.
You don't want to over improving your neighborhood or whatever. But it's buying a fixer upper, right? It's buying a fixer upper, right? And that's really what it comes down to. I mean, you don't necessarily have to sell the house and move out. Just like you did, you just accessed the equity that you created and then went on to do other things with it. So if you want to buy a Maserati or a Mazda Miata or whatever, you can with that equity, but you can also then use that to launch an investing career. You can also then eventually sell it and again, miss capital gains tax. You don't have to worry about that. But it doesn't, like, I still live in my current live-in flip. And I'm using that equity to now invest in more properties. And I'm not a huge investor. I have a handful of properties and I'm under contract on one right now. Maybe I'll hopefully get another one soon. It just is something you can stay in. You can make it your own. And, you can make the kitchen how you want. You can make the floors the color you want. But really what you're trying to do is just get the appraiser. You just need a man to come to the house or a woman to come to your house and just write on a little piece of paper that your house is now worth, instead of $350, now it's worth $500.
Yep.
Based on his professional opinion of the comps and everything else, right? So it's kind of funny because you end up printing money.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like
that's a fair statement.
You don't actually have to sell anything. There's no like exchange of value. It's just, okay, this thing, we perceive it to now be more valuable and we're going to give you a loan against that and a line of credit, you can use it if you want to use it, but you don't have to use it. So it's not like, oh, okay, now I got this big debt burden over my head.
Yep.
Right. But again, it's like, hey, you had a family emergency, medical emergency, or whatever. I mean, again, it's just something that helps build.
Access to capital is huge, man. It's huge.
Dude, have you heard that statistic that like most people don't have $1,000?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
We live in the richest country in the world, and this is what's happening. And I think that's because of a lack of financial understanding and education. And, we can complain about schools doing it, not doing it, whatever, right? But we have to seek it.
Of course.
I think that's probably something like you just said, right? You paid a mentor $5,000 to teach you something. And, you can do it that way.
Yep.
You can hire our team or whatever, or you can hire your team or, however you want to do it. And you can also just find the information on YouTube for the most part.
All information is out there for free, especially with the dawn of AI and everything. Like, there's no information that is hidden or gatekeeped anymore. Now, still to this day, I still pay for, mentors, coaches, mastermind stuff of that nature, but it's not necessarily for the educational aspect. Yeah. It's usually for the networking and the other things that it brings value to your life and everything. Yeah. But information is out there, man. There's guys like you putting free courses out that are saying, hey, just give me a call. I'll help you. I'll guide you in the right direction and everything. Like, there's no excuse to not taking the first step.
Yeah. I mean, we live in like a free information age, right? But I think there's definitely something where there's this missing link because there's just so much information. It's like, who do you listen to and why? Right. Yeah. And then, okay, like knowing what to do is a lot different than going to do it.
Doing it, yeah.
Right?
Taking action is a totally different thing, right? And having somebody like you in their corner to help push that action piece, just like when I hired that mentor when I first started. For me, 100%, I knew that would force me to take action, Yeah, I mean, when I get to with a client, what I'm trying to do is say like, okay, like, great, you want to do this. This is the steps to success. Okay, we're going to
set up a search. We're going to go look at the houses. We're going to make offers. You're going to get accepted. You're going to own the house. Then we're going to make a project plan. You're going to execute that project plan. Then you're going to call the bank. They're going to give you the line of credit, right? And you just make this straight line, boom, 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 boom for them. You lay that plan out, and then you say, okay, like, don't sit on your hands.
Yeah.
Get up.
Let's go. This is what you said you want to do, and here's how we do it.
And if you don't want to do it, don't call me.
That's right.
Because otherwise you're going to find me quite annoying.
Yep.
So it's just like, it's exciting. I just get so passionate about this because, we've helped so many people do it, and it's changed my life. It's changed your life. Mm-hmm. So it's like, all right, how do we get in people's heads and just say, when you're buying a house, you have a huge opportunity to make 50 to at least 150, maybe even $200,000, depending on your price point and how the deal's structured, how much work you're willing to do. I mean, I think 50 is easy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like a live and flip that makes 50 is easy.
Mm-hmm.
And they're everywhere. I see them all over the MLS all day long. They're the grandma houses, like grandma took care of the roof, she took care of the windows, she took care of the siding, but she likes the kitchen from the 1950s, and the floors, maybe they're chewed up by a dog or whatever it is. And it's like, okay, this looks dirty now or jacked up, but this is simple cosmetic stuff.
Yep, exactly.
We don't want to
low-hanging fruit.
Yeah, you don't want to try to get a newbie into like, okay, we're going to add a second floor.
Yeah, $200,000 construction project on, number one. Not a good play.
Yeah, man. It's amazing, I'm sure you've experienced this, as you evolve in your investing journey, like things change.
Every day.
Right? What kind of changes have you seen yourself make as you've gone through your journey? How would you describe if you were to summarize it?
Oh man, it would be really challenging to summarize. But for example, I know Rob Coldwell, right?
Yeah,
so Rob was just here yesterday.
Oh, was he?
And we were having lunch and we were going over some of the systems and processes that they have going on with their construction division.
Right.
And it was kind of funny because some of the things and the processes that he was talking about, he's like, Drew, I got to give you credit because you taught me some of these things years ago.
Yeah.
Back 5-6 years ago when I was flipping more houses, and I was very, very dialed in on systems, processes, SOPs, and just having everything documented and organized.
I see. Cool.
And some of the things that he's doing today, it's like, I showed him those things years ago because that's what I was doing. That's how I built it out and how I was operating. And the funny thing is, a lot of those things today, I don't even do them anymore, and I'm still able to achieve the same outcome and result without doing those steps.
Yeah.
Now, here's the funny part, and I was kind of thinking about this yesterday afternoon. It's like, even though I was able to cut some steps and still essentially be more efficient in the process that I have today and achieve the same or greater outcome, would I have been able to do that had I not gone through the personal development and the business development and all the changes and, evolution that came through going through that stuff? And I don't know is the simple answer, but it's kind of funny that a lot of things that I used to do that I totally attributed some of our success to is like, man, I was able to eliminate a lot of that stuff over the years and still achieve the same outcome.
Isn't it interesting? They talk about, I'm an engineer by background, and they talk about the number one trap that engineers fall into is optimizing a process that doesn't need to exist.
Dude.
Right?
Yeah.
That's a huge thing. And
Elon's good at calling that out.
Yeah. That's where I got that from. But, I was thinking about that so much, and it's just okay, you simplify and get to the point. Right. And that's again, when it's bringing a client, it's how do I simplify, get to the point, and get them into action and get them to clarity? Right. Because clarity is super important. And you're right. Man, I was just thinking about how much clearer everything is to me today than it was maybe 5 years ago in terms of how I see and understand things. And you're right, dude. You just have to go through that personal journey.
Yep.
I was even thinking about with my real estate sales business. With okay, well, I spent money on this thing, or I spent money on this coach. It's well, I no longer have that coach or do that thing anymore. And it's well, you kind of have to experiment.
Absolutely.
Right? You got to try something out. It's okay, I'm trying this lead source. Oh, that one didn't work. Kind of did work. Maybe I'll revisit that. I cut it. I wish I didn't cut it. So it's just being being not afraid to try things is the hugest part of success. And it's not that you're going for failure or you're going to mess it up, but it's like, if it doesn't work, or, hey, I made this whole process and now I got to delete it. It's like, you can't be married to it and be like, oh, but I made that.
That's pretty. Look, dude, that's the thing. That's where wisdom comes from, right? Like, you have to go through the trials and tribulations with things. And you also have to accept. And that's kind of one of the funny, ironic things also, that the longer you've been in whatever it is, whatever industry you're in, and the more successes and failures you've experienced, you kind of just have to become accepting of the fact that most of the stuff that I do is not going to work. And all of the stuff that I do that does work today will someday no longer work. You always have to adapt. You always have to change. You always have to improve.
Yeah,
everything's always changing.
If you've had these experiences in life, but I've had, like, I would call like a rock bottom experience in, like, I got divorced. I lost everything I had. I had to start over with nothing, around 30 years old. And it's freeing in a sense, because it's like, once you just lost everything, you can go back and say, like, hey, okay, well, what has this all taken from me? As long as my kids are good, my family's good, like, you really can't touch me, kind of that uneffable with, kind of thing, right? And I think that's the people that succeed are the ones that are willing to kind of just take that little leap and say, well, what happens if this doesn't work out exactly how I planned?
Yeah.
And we've had flippers where, okay, they kind of broke even, or maybe they lost $1,000 on a thing, and, and they're going, oh man, I was expecting to make 50, and it's like, okay, well, it was your first one. What happened?
Yep.
And then also looking at our own systems and processes and going, okay, like, we're shepherding this person through the process. What could we have done better to prevent what happened here? Because sometimes it's like, maybe you have more than you need. Sometimes you have less systems and processes than you need.
Yeah, man.
Or less resources, or, should have stepped in here, or should have done this, should have done that. But if you buy right, okay, the worst case, breaking even, it's not the end of the world, other than, okay, waste a lot of time and energy.
Yeah,
but
right.
It's still, that can be a paying tuition.
Dude, it is still a risk at the end of the day, no matter how you slice it. Yeah. Even if you have the best guidance, the best plan, you're well connected, you have a lot of resources and everything, there's still risk involved. There's no question about that.
Yeah.
But there's also risk in doing fucking nothing, a lot of risk. And I would argue there's way more risk in doing nothing.
Yeah. I mean, action, a bias towards action is a super important thing. I think you definitely have that, probably more than I do. And it's fun to watch you go and just do your thing, dude. I mean, it's impressive. I've always admired your hustle and your work ethic, and just that you always are trying this and trying that, looking at these ideas. You're excited about life, which I love. Yeah, and family guy as well, which I also love. So, it's fun to get around people that are like-minded, and then like go, okay, like, we can feed off each other's energies, because it's like, oh, Rob, you really shouldn't be thinking like that, because that's negative, and, blah, 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 blah. Or, yeah, Rob, you should watch out there, because I just made that mistake. I just flipped a house, in Westchester, and man, I put a year of my time into it. I'm not really sure how much I made, but it wasn't a lot.
Okay.
And, I did like a really over the kill extensive renovation. It just went way over budget, 50,000 over budget. It went way over timeline, and then ended up in the election season, all this stuff. So, like, just didn't go how I wanted it to go. And you take a lot of lessons from something like that, in terms of, okay, like, well, if I'm going to be dorming out a roof and ripping the whole top off a house, like, the profit's got to be really big.
Yeah.
Because this is going to be a structural change, and that's got to get permanent. It can't get done during the winter. You might run into contractor issues, and, the amount of, you just have to, like, learn from those experiences, and then go, okay, and even like on the outsale, like, okay, it was a Cape Codder, but I'm trying to comp it off of a Colonial, and going, Rob, it's not the same thing.
Yeah.
Do not kid yourself.
Yeah.
Right.
It's very easy to do happy math as an investor also.
Yeah.
I still do
like
it
that
all
term.
the time.
Happy math.
Yep.
Right.
It's easy to talk yourself into a project.
That's one of the things we end up with our clients so much, often, is talking them out of a project, saying, I don't like the deal, here's why. Or don't like the deal at that price, this is the price I like the deal. And especially in like spring market can be really frustrating, because they keep losing deals, because I'm like, you can't overpay, you can't overpay, you can't overpay. And then you'll watch someone who did get that deal, and then their house is flipped, sitting on the market at a way too high price and not selling.
Yep.
And then, you see them take a bath and you go, okay, well, because at the time you're like, well, this other person's doing it. Why am I not doing it?
Yeah, I missed out. They beat me. Did they? Did they?
Yeah, you get that feeling and you realize that there's a lot of amateurs in this business and they just don't know what they're doing and they just do crazy stuff. And it's like, you cannot follow them off the cliff.
Yeah.
Like, well, all the hamsters just ran off the cliff. Like, I know I probably shouldn't go off a cliff, but everyone seems to be doing it. What do I not know?
It's the way.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like, what don't I know? Like, why am I not doing what they're doing? There's so much groupthink that's just embedded in us as human beings.
Dude,
right?
100%.
Like, people do podcasts. Let's do a podcast, right?
Yep. Dude, well, one of the things that always drives me nuts, especially coming from the perspective of a wholesaler, is just people arguing you on ARV. Like, I hate even attaching an ARV when we send out a property because it's like, dude, I can actually personally comp a property and be like, I am damn confident the ARV is 425, whatever.
Yeah.
And I'll send it to 100 people that are all real investors that all know what they're doing. They know their numbers. And they're going to come back with 100 different ARV expectations or whatever. It's like, it shouldn't be subjective because it is backed by, real data and analytics. And that's some of like the platform and how that kind of came to be. But it's like, I hate how subjective it is. It's like, at the end of the day, it's the same thing with renovations, right?
Well,
Something that could be a $50,000 renovation for you might be a $100,000 renovation for me because we have differences in vision and scope and different contractors and different material selections. So much of it is subjective that it's like, I don't know. What I can tell you is this property is undervalued and it could be a deal. Is it a deal for you? I don't know.
Yeah. Run your own numbers and know your own stuff.
That's it.
Right?
You have to.
I mean, obviously people can get, I get wholesale deals or whatever. And I look at the ARV, after renovation value, that stands for. But I look at that and I go like, okay.
Well, most wholesalers' ARVs are bullshit. There's no question about that.
I'm just like, okay, yeah, exactly. I mean, look, you can't blame them. They're trying to get as much as they can get. And like, it's your job to protect yourself.
Of course.
That's why the education piece is so important because it's not just me telling somebody what to do. It's teaching them how to understand what they're
how to fish.
Doing. Exactly. And it's like when you can teach them that, you can kind of build, like I've got this one flipper we work with, Laura Sides, and she's fantastic. I mean, she can run numbers. She can do a lot of this stuff. She appreciates our partnership and how we help her and everything else. I think we did like 4 flips with her last year.
Nice.
And, but you can bring value outside. It's always interesting because it's like, no matter how much somebody else knows, it's like when you've got like an A team together, like those A players are going to work together and they don't like cut each other out. So I don't have any like, mentality about like, oh, I can't teach someone this, then I'm not valuable.
No.
It's like
you can't live like that.
Right. And I'm trying to always just keep evolving as a person. I know me and you are both big on personal development. Like, okay, well, I understand this concept. I don't quite understand why someone's doing this. Okay, I'm moving, like right now I'm selling a multifamily portfolio that's like in Brookhaven and, looking at, okay, how does that going to work? How are investors responding to that? Where would I buy this? Where's someone else going to buy it? How they're going to underwrite it? So you're always like trying to evolve. And I just think like, okay, hey, if you give a beginner some knowledge and then you're valueless, like why? Like, did you just stop learning?
Yep.
Are you stopping learning? Like, we got to always be training and always learning how to get better. So anyway, my point is just like, if we can empower people, and I know you're big on this kind of stuff too. It's just like, if we can empower people to get on that journey of learning, but learning and execution. And then there's so much learning that takes place within the execution. Like, my mentor's been Steve Seymour. He's helped me through a lot of this stuff. And then like, I've gotten the opportunity to mentor some of my other teammates. I got one teammate, Zach. He came to me on Bigger Pockets. He was like, look, I need to get cash flow. I was like, nope, you need to get equity. I told him how to do a live and flip. He made like 30,000. He's probably up 150,000 on this property in Ardmore. Used that, flipped one in Avondale. Then he just flipped 2 more in Ardmore. He's doing another live and flip now that's going to make over 200. He just appraised at 775 on a 430 purchase, 435 purchase. Yeah, it's crazy. The neighbors just sold for like, I think 817, same exact house. And, you know, that is exciting. And then also he's totally killing it as an agent. And I was like, dude, you have one job, which is to help investors find properties or people to find live-in flips. He's doing it. I'm doing it. My other teammate, Scott, he's got all these rental properties. Tracy's got some rental properties. Sam and Gigi are young, so they're aspiring to do it. You know, they're in their early 20s. But anyway, it's fun because like we do it and then we help other people do it. But if you don't do it, do you really know it?
Yeah.
You know
Great
what I
point.
mean?
I would argue, no, absolutely not.
Right. So it's like if you've got a teacher who's teaching but not doing, then it's like that's a false teacher, right? In anything in life.
Agreed.
And you have to get with somebody who's doing it. So it's like, and I don't feel qualified to teach some things, you know, like I have a speaker coming tomorrow night to my investor meetup. He's teaching about investing in self-storage.
Okay.
I've never invested in self-storage. I can't give that talk.
Yep. Yep.
You know what I mean? I can sit there and listen and learn, and then maybe that's something I go to try to do at a later time. But anyway, I just think it's awesome that like we got this team together of people doing it, and then like, you know, Zach kind of came to me as a client and then, you know, evolved into somebody who's now
to also doing it.
Yeah, he's still doing it himself and then teaching other people how to do it. So like I just think about that and I see that example, and Steve Seymour, you taught me, and we've got this brokerage going, which you're a part of, which is awesome. And I love the mission of our brokerage, and like you know, there's so many great concepts and things floating around. And it's like, okay, how do we execute for the most people possible? Because people are screaming about people like you and me. Investors are taking all the deals. I can't get ahead. Houses are too expensive. You know, there's a screaming mass out there that are like, I hate you and I hate you. Right.
And that's the irony, is we're the ones that are trying to show them the way. It's like, dude, I'm putting it all out of here.
That's the thing that I'm excited about, because I'm just like, how do we turn that on its head? Instead of being mad about what I'm doing, you actually have some advantages over me, especially when it comes to getting started in a live-in flip, or even, you know, getting started as a small investor. There's some advantages you're going to have. Be able to self-manage, you know, you're going to get better financing, you have different timelines, you have different, you know, there's a lot of advantages. So it's like, you know, and sometimes people want to just complain.
Of course. Right. And that's fine. That's just the nature of humans. That's cool.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like, okay, how can we turn that on its head? How can we say, hey, instead of I can't afford it, you can't afford not to do it, right? How do I teach that and show you, okay, yes, you can make 50, 100, 150,000. You know, I'm up even more than that on my personal live-in flip. And then it allowed me to buy a beach house in Florida. That was my wife's dream house, you know, and now we go down to Florida 4 to 6 times a year, Airbnb that out when we're not using it. And, you know, it's a wash, but I mean, it went up and blah, blah, blah. It's awesome to have it, but like, you know, you can have that dream of that beach house, and you can have that house. And even if your salary is modest, you know, by making the right strategic moves and learning the right things, you know, you don't have to be, oh, I'm going to have 100 units. I'm going to have 1,000 units. You can have a couple things, right? And just those couple things done right can be life-changing. And I don't know. So I'm just so excited about, like, I can see the screaming masses. They're hungry. And we're selling hot dogs. They just don't know it, right? And we just got to get out there and say, listen, I know houses aren't affordable. The dream house you want, you can't buy. Let me teach you how to create it.
Dude, I love that.
Isn't that awesome?
I love that. And I do want to go into the topic of kind of just the overall economy and housing prices and inflation and some of that stuff and everything. But I want to take it back to, how did you enter into the world of real estate?
Yeah, it's interesting. So I'm a mechanical and aerospace engineer. I got a degree from Cornell University. I went and I got my first job. I got laid off in 2008, but pretty quickly they were like, you talk way too much for an engineer. And, you know, they put me into the technical sales side of things, right? So I went into technical sales. I got laid off in 2008, and I was just like, man, I just need to find any job I can. I applied to like 300 jobs. Anyway, I got a job doing like traveling sales for industrial machinery. And my first, my boss, my manager, his name is Keith Funch. he was like the richest guy at the company. And he wasn't, I mean, he had a good salary and did well for himself, but he did it because he lived with his parents for a while, before he got married, used his engineering salary to buy real estate. And I think he said he had bought and sold like 22 properties. And then he was living in this, at the time, like, this is 15 years ago, it was like $2 million, mansion. And, he had rolled all his real estate into that. And, I watched him do a property in Florida, where he kind of bought it and it's like short sale, I think, and then sold it like a year later. I think he made like 75 or 100 grand. And I was like, that's my
crushing it.
Yeah, I was like, that was my whole salary at the time, right? And then I was like, And he was just like, okay, just buy real estate. So I just did. I didn't really know what I was doing. Again, I got into that first house. It didn't work out exactly how I wanted. I also had a bad marriage that, ended up failing, and I moved away. I ended up renting that one out. Came back. I did a couple different technical sales jobs, ended up working for my father. And it wasn't working out how I wanted it to work out. I wanted to take over the business. I don't think he really wanted that. And
what kind of business?
It's a thickness gauging company for plastic film. So basically measures grocery bags, trash bags, keeps them from ripping and tearing. Quality control for that kind of stuff. Anyway, I did, a lot of different, I was always into technical sales and marketing, and did a lot with that with him. But anyway, I ran across Robert Kiyosaki. I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It blew my mind. Like, I was just like,
dude, I love that that's the great connector. Like, everybody's journey starts with person. Good old Robert Kiyosaki.
Yeah. It's been interesting understanding, like, there was a person reading that book with him, and there's a lot to that. But anyway, the book itself is great.
Yep.
And it just opened my eyes because I was a straight A student. I had always tried to just, like, get the job, work in the system. Like, that was the path to success, was just doing well in the system. And I basically do whatever it takes to be successful. I'm like a pit bull, and I just thought that was the way. And, I came to kind of get out and realize, like, man, like, I've been building other people's companies for the past 12 years. I don't have really anything to show for it. I just went through a divorce, lost everything, so there was so many eye-opening things. And it was a lot of pain. I mean, there was a lot of pain and suffering that went along with that because, man, I was traveling like crazy and working so hard and just trying, maybe I can get another $1,500 off this commission. I remember flying to Tennessee to have lunch, fly back, like crazy stuff like that.
Oh,
fish
shit.
plants covered in fish guts, just so many different things that I went through to just try to, like, make it, And once I read that book, I was like, I need to own assets. I need to create businesses and own assets. And that's the only real way that I'm ever going to truly build wealth. So I didn't have any money because I just lost everything. And so I was like, well, I guess I'll get licensed, at least be educational. Then I got licensed and I was like, okay, I don't have any money to invest. Maybe I'll just try to do this on the side to, like, get a couple commissions here and there. It took me a year to do my first real estate deal. But in between, I had run into Steve Seymour. My buddy Jason Saul told me, he's like, hey, Steve's killing it in the real estate investing game. Why don't you talk to Steve? And, like, he had flipped, 100 houses or maybe more than that. And I was like, I just need to be around this guy.
Yep.
So I was like agent number 17 at VRA, and I joined in 2017 there. And then anyway, I just started doing some real estate deals here and there. Then I stopped working for my father and went full-time into it. Then it just started blowing up. I just kept getting more and more clients. I had to add somebody to help me, and then I kept adding more people. And now we're a team of 6, which is awesome. And I love my team. I have a truly phenomenal team that I'm, like, really, really grateful for. And they are all top performers, A players. So it's awesome to have that now. And I just always think, man, it's like, this was just an idea.
Yeah.
It was just an idea. And, like, people are like, oh, well, what are you doing with this? And so I was like, look, I was just an engineer. I don't know how I got a real estate team. Like, I just
but
have
you do.
one.
You do know how you did it. If you, because one of my favorite things to do in anything, and it'll be very relevant to you, is reverse engineer.
Yeah.
I am not an engineer by trade or by education, but I came from a manufacturing company. Before I was in real estate, I was in quality control for a manufacturing company.
There you go.
It's funny, man. Like, almost everything I do kind of take an engineering approach to it. And one of the funny like side notes is back when I was in the manufacturing company, we'd be sitting around talking about a new product that we were going to develop for a customer internally, whatever.
Yeah.
But I'm sitting at a table with like 15 other real engineers that are, you know, college educated and everything. And the way that they would talk about something like verbally, I always felt like the idiot, but I was, I guess I had balls enough to say to him, guys, I don't understand what you're talking about. Like, can we draw what you're talking about? Or, you know, can we get some sort of further clarity? Because we're talking about a feature on something that has a radius. And I'm just like, I need to see it, man. Because that's just how my brain works. But what's funny is by going through that, and I always felt awkward every time that I had to ask, but I would always ask.
Yeah.
And as soon as we would go through that, everybody in the room would be like, oh my God, I understand it so much better now. So it was kind of like probably a lot of other people had the same thing, but they were afraid to say, I don't really understand what everybody's talking about.
Yeah.
But yeah, man.
I can see that sort of like engineering mindset come through in the software that you have.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a cool software, by the way. People should check that out. It's Revamp 360.io.
365.
365.
You were so close, man. So close.
Yeah.
Revamp 365.
360 degrees. 365 days.
Touche. Good point. Fair.
Yeah. So, you know, hey, the engineering mind, right? But
what has your experience been so far?
It's been cool. I mean, like, it's interesting. You know, like my teammate Sam was identifying a deal in Philadelphia, and I'm like, there's so many houses for sale in Philadelphia. It's like, how did you see that one? And I was like, did you use the software? And he was like, yes. And then there was one in Conshohocken I saw and like took a client to, and she's like, oh, it was a little too much for her, but I mean, it was cool. It really like highlighted some of the
pinpoint the opportunity.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. I mean, you know, there's probably even more you can do in there and like advance it as you go. But you know, I'm definitely happy to give input from my perspective. Okay, like, well, what if we, you know, looked at this or, you know, challenged this or I don't know. It's interesting to think about it because it's like I'm always like, there's a deal at a certain price on almost every property.
Absolutely.
You know, and it's really looking at, because sometimes it's what is it listed as a deal? Sometimes it's not listed as a deal, but there's a deal there to be made, and you have to kind of prod it.
Exactly
poke
right.
it, you know? So there's some limitations to software and engineering things, and then there's the human touch to like understand, you know, like I said, $90,000 off that quad changed the
whole deal. Yeah, if you were just
economics.
looking at it at list price, it's like, of course it's not a deal.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
You can go make it.
It's like, oh, it's $490. That makes no sense. Well, it makes sense at $400. Well, they're never going to take $400. I was like, did you ask? Mm-hmm. Right? Like, dude. So it's interesting because there's like always, you know, your software is really cool. I recommend people check it out, and yeah, you can subscribe, be a gold member, and get some of the filters and talk to Drew, get some training on how to use it. But I mean, it talks about like, you know, price per square foot and looking at identifying deals that are good deals, price per square foot. I think I got to utilize it more, but like definitely a cool thing for, you know, that I'll recommend to clients just as they're kind of going to understand. People always think there's like no deals, you can't get a deal. And like, I always get this like feeling like, I can't get a deal. And then all of a sudden I get a deal and I'm like, I got a deal. You know?
Absolutely, man. It's funny how it always works that way. In any sort of sales, whether we're talking about real estate or anything else, there's always like, you know, slumps and hills and valleys and everything. Yeah. But there are always opportunities out there and everything. And that's why I wanted to build the software in the first place, right? Was like, I built it for me, for my own needs, right?
Yeah,
like,
that's cool.
I wanted the ability to be able to cut down time spent hunting and searching for deals that are already actively available and everything.
Yeah.
And for most people, like, one of the most common things to me is people come to me because they know that I run a wholesale company, so we're really good at marketing and sales, you know? People that want to buy either their first flip or their next flip, they could be seasoned, or their first rental or their next rental, whatever. And they're like, how would you go about finding the next deal for me, for what I want to do? And usually what they mean by that is, can you show me how to start doing marketing, and can you show me how to do sales? And I think for most people, like, this is absolutely relevant for somebody that has a full-time job that's making really good money and just kind of wants to buy rentals or maybe do one flip a year or something like that.
Yeah.
There is absolutely no way that you should start doing marketing for off-market deals you're going to light your money on fire. I can guarantee you are going to light your money on fire. You might get a deal. But ultimately you're going to waste a lot of time and a lot of money. You are way better off going to somebody like you or using something like a software that helps you locate opportunity that's already there than trying to create the opportunity. Yeah. It's like, dude, we spend, you know, I have multiple employees. At one point I had 12 employees. Wow. All that we were doing is spending $50,000-$60,000 a month on marketing to locate deals. Most people do not want to do that. And I would make the same argument for somebody that even if they flip houses at a high level and that's all they do, they flip 20 houses, 30 houses, 50 houses a year, whatever. Right. They should also not spend all their time, effort, and energy trying to do marketing, trying to do sales. Focus on what you set out to do. Go acquire fucking properties and make money doing that. You're creating an entirely new business if you go set out to try to do marketing and sales.
Yeah, you know? You're right. We all have to kind of stay in our lanes.
You have to focus, man. And it's so hard because it's very easy for anybody, especially entrepreneurial people, to be like, well, this is a parallel to what I already do. I'm already an agent. I'm already doing this. I'm already an investor. I already own rentals. I've already done flips. Yeah. This is parallel to what I already do. Dude, it's not.
Right. You know, no, because you're competing with someone who is specialized in something. So it's like when you start, you know, it's like I just listed a house for another real estate agent. I just got the paperwork signed last night.
That's dope.
Yeah, and it's interesting because, you know, even if you can really generate you know, a high level of expertise in something, it's like, yeah, I'm a good marketer, but I might still hire another marketer who's really super specialized in something and also it's just like time and energy. How are you spending it? Are they more efficient at it? Are their systems and processes dialed in? But, you know, I think it's also important. It's like, let's just say you took a layperson off the street and they started spending $5,000 on postcards. And then they barely know what a good deal is. Yep. Right. So then they kind of like walk in and like, what should I pay for this? I don't know. Like, I'm just, you know, what happens when they actually call you off the postcard?
Yep. It's the next step. Now you need to know sales and you don't know anything about sales. And I'm not dissuading anybody from going and doing marketing, but it's like, if you already have something that you're good at, I would make the argument that 99% of the time you are better off doubling down on what you're already freaking good at than going and trying to learn a new thing. And it's so hard as an entrepreneur because the grass is always greener, right?
Yeah, it's kind of always funny greener. In a sense because I am not a super good investor. Like, I'm a good investor, but like, I'm not the world's best flipper. Like, I'm not that good of a project manager because, well, I got a house I got to sell right now. Do I go to that house or do I go to my project and I put my project on hold for a few days while I handle my business, right? And I'm really, really good at what I've gotten dialed in on. I'm like, you know, buying houses for below market value, selling houses for above market value, and, you know, helping guide people through these processes and shepherding people through the process, managing my teammates. But it's like, you know, there's people out there that are better project managers than me by far. And they're better at being like, you know, tough with the contractors when they need to be, you know, and, you know, things like that. So I'm a salesman. I'm more nice. I'm too nice, probably. I formed too nice relationships with everybody.
I'm with you, brother.
You know what I mean?
I'm with you.
So there's always like different personalities that are good at different things. And, anyway, I think it's cool to everybody's got their niche. And, you know, I think what we are trying to get the absolute best at in the entire area is how do I shepherd somebody through this process, right? That's what I really, when I say like, okay, I'm not the best investor. No, I don't help people buy warehouses, and I don't work with the guy who's got 2,000 properties and needs another 100 this year. Like, it doesn't turn me on. I mean, I just am more excited about that person, seeing the look in their eye when they've like achieved something they thought they couldn't, and they've, you know, changed their financial picture, and it just even like evolved as a person from the process. So I was like, okay, that really lights me up. That warms my heart. Like, I'm good with that. Like, how do I get really good at that? Because there's a ton of people that can benefit from this. There's a ton of live-in flips. Yep. That's another part that's hard with, like, once you get out of the live-in flip stage and into the flipping or buying rentals, is those deals are less frequent than like the grandma houses. Right, there's tons of grandma house because tons of grandmas, right? But for someone to have let their house go so far to the point that it really needs to be flipped by a flipper and another home buyer won't touch it, those are on the small end of the bell curve where there's a lot more in the middle, right? And again, you got the super. So anyway, I just think that that's like a cool opportunity, and like, how do you get the best at something that you think's valuable, that you think people can use, that helps people, that you're excited about, you know, and that you can just say, okay, like I want to get better and better at that. And then when like, I think our team and our brokerage is super real estate investor focused. Like, yeah, I mean, you can beat the average real estate agent in that very easily. They just don't know what they're doing.
Yep.
You know, they just don't know numbers, and you know, hey, they know how to do the basic job and the paperwork and stuff, and do the thing and market on Facebook and this and that, and dance on TikTok or whatever.
Yep.
Right. But it's like, okay, I'm an engineer. I like math. You know, I can do math in my head very quickly. I can size up a renovation quickly. I can, you know, do this, do that. So it's like, all right, that's good. All right, already beating average on that. But as you know, being average doesn't pay at all. Yep. Being good pays a little bit. But if you can be really, truly great at one thing, that's where you really, really make a lot of money.
Absolutely.
You know, so that's kind of how I think about what I'm trying to accomplish and how I'm running my team.
And dude, that's why you're crushing it, right? Because it's obvious. It's very clear that you're passionate about what you're doing and the ways that you're taking steps to make that a reality. Like, that's really cool. So like, what is that life cycle typically like for the new investor that reaches out to you and says, Rob, like are people frequently reaching out saying they found you from your YouTube, from social media? I know you said you were running Zillow ads, right?
Yeah, I did use Zillow a long time ago. I run an investor meetup too.
Okay.
I would say that's been a big attractor. I would say word of mouth, just connections, friends, family. Like I've helped a lot of friends do this. You know, it's been, I don't know, my business is like, how does it work? I'm like, I don't know. It just happens sometimes, you know? And people just kind of show up like, hey, I see what you're doing on Facebook. I see what you're doing on social media. I see you know, this and that. And I don't know. Sometimes I'm struggling to get the word out. I think about what the true value that's really here. You know?
I understand.
So I'm really grateful to be on this podcast, to get to express myself about it and have people listen to this, because I'm just like, man, I need, if I can just get those live and flip buyers to come my direction, you know, it's like, then I can help them. You know? And I just have to figure that out.
Well, I can relate to that even on the software side, right? Like, it's so funny because I feel that I'm being so repetitive with the things that I'm talking about on social media, right? But probably about a year ago, a year just passed because I just had like a Facebook memory pop up of like something that I launched. Yeah. And, you know, probably a year ago is when I started talking a lot about the software and what I was doing with it and everything. And I'm very consistently inconsistent with stuff on social media, but there was like a period where every single day, like 7 days a week for like 3 months, I made at least one post about something related to the software in some way, shape, or form. And to me, that was so freaking boring because I feel like I'm talking about the same thing over and over and over and over again. But the funny thing is, like, I would still have, while I'm talking about the same exact thing, and a lot of times in the same way, I still have like 10 people reaching out to me every single week 6 months later. So it's like, well, they weren't seeing that message 5 months ago, or maybe they were, and it just didn't sink in enough to where it was relevant for them to take action. Yeah. So, you know, having your messaging clear enough, which I'm still working on as well, man. Clear messaging is a lot harder than it sounds. Yeah. You know, like how do you brand yourself as the live and flip guy?
Yeah, it's like make $50,000 to $150,000 when you buy your house. Yeah. That's like the message I'm trying to like push, you know. Make $50,000 to $150,000 tax-free when you go to buy a house. Huge opportunity for you, right?
That in itself, that headline sounds so sexy, so attractive. It's like it's a no-brainer. Who would not be interested in that? Yeah. But then the repetition piece comes in.
Yeah, and you know, you talked about the process. You know, there's the other part of your question, and you know, really, like, I would say almost everybody is at some point in the process, right? Because the process might be, hey, I've got bad credit. I got to repair that. I got to save some money up. I've got to do this. I got to do that. So anybody can talk to me at any time in where they're at in the process, and I can just say, okay, maybe you're back here on the timeline. Maybe you're up here, right? If you're here, okay, we're going to take the steps and just get ready to go. Maybe you're in the preparation stage where you need more education. You can come to the investor meetups, you know, learn, meet other investors, start networking, and start taking the fear out of this for you. Yep. Right? Because like we just had a deal that we were trying to make right now on a multifamily, and my teammate approached me and said, I think the client's hesitant to make this offer, and I'm like, let me call him. Why are you hesitant? Well, Rob, I've only got X number of dollars. That's going to be almost all my closing costs and everything. I can't close on this house really and then have money. What if something goes wrong? And I'm like, oh, we just need an assist on this, And then it's like, identifying whatever little thing that person needs to succeed. And then we get them into their multifamily. They're going to house hack, could be converted to quad later or something, And it's like, okay. So just trying to take that fear and trepidation out of people through education and empowerment and mindset, like you can do this, I can help teach you if you are determined.
Yep.
I can't give somebody the will to do something or the motivation, but if the motivation's there and they have that seed, even if they do have the fear, the trepidation or whatever, it's like, okay, me too, man. I was scared out of my mind when I started this. I remember exactly how that felt. I know what helped me overcome it. Big part of that's community, getting around other real estate investors.
Yep.
And we, got great. We do a second Wednesday every month in Westchester. You can search VRA Realty Meetup to find that. And the big thing about that is like, I get together, it's like, 30 to 50 of my great friends come together once a month. I love everybody there. They know me. They kind of like me,
And it's a great meetup. I've been there. I love it.
Yeah. It's a good meetup. It's just straight to the point. There's no BS, it's real life. And, cause like, look, if you get a speaker up there that's talking ish, you're going to be booed by the crowd. They there's intelligent people in the crowd that are okay, buddy, like, come on here. Right. So it's cool. And I always think it's like, if you want to do something, you get around other people that do it. You want to snowboard, hang out with snowboarders. You want to do crack, hang out in Kensington.
That's right.
If you want to invest in real estate, come to investor meetups, hang out with other real estate investors. And that's why I joined VRA Realty, because I wanted to get around other people that were doing it. And, it's cool too. It's like even my partner, Scott, going to him and like, hey, should I hold this house or sell this house? He's like, well, Rob, I held everything. I own all these properties free and clear now. And it was really good for my life. It's like, okay, like I can see, like, it's good. I just have him to sound like, you might talk to somebody else like, hold a rental property. Oh, that sounds terrifying. Don't do that. They're never going to leave. The tenants are going to get stuck in there. And it's like, okay, calm down. Like, what are you talking about? I had so many people try to talk me out of buying a place in Florida, except the other people that had Airbnbs. Right. So getting into that community, even if you're just at the very, like, I just noticed this idea. I'm scared. I don't know anything. I'm embarrassed to even show up at this meetup. It's like, don't be scared. Don't be embarrassed. We were all there once, including myself.
Totally agree.
Right. And it's like, okay, how do I shepherd? I always like to use the word shepherd. How do I shepherd people through this process? Right. Yep. And say, okay, like, and no, I don't want to be a sheep, but like, it's like, but like, a shepherd guides and cares for his flock, right? And it's like, how do you help them? Because it's like, you can kind of have something like this, and then all of a sudden it's like, boom, you got to cross this chasm, and they're like, I'm terrified to jump.
Yep,
I can't climb that cliff, and it's my job to build the ramp or build the bridge, and say, okay, here's how I got across. Here's what it took. It took me 5 years. I can show you how to do it in 3 months. Yep. Because like you said, you've had the experience. You know what you need. You know what you don't really need. You know what's important, right? Like, and like almost shoving people into action is really one of the things that I try to do, right? Hey, don't be scared. Like, this is a good deal. This is not a good deal. Here's why, right? And then you have somebody looking out, so then it can help you go across that bridge over the cliff.
And that's where like trust and rapport comes into the equation. It's such a deep level, because the only way that you can help and guide somebody towards what you believe it is that they want is, first and foremost, them being honest and clear with you about what their desired outcome or goal or investment strategy is. And then for them to trust you enough that when they do have that fear and they're terrified about whatever it is, I'm going to be strapped for cash, man. Like for a lot of people, that's a really awkward and uncomfortable thing to say. Like people like to be able to flex and be like, I got all the money in the world and everything, but especially in the world of real estate investors. Like, I'll be the first to tell you, most real estate investors are usually broke. Like, everybody's rich on paper, but it's like very frequently people don't have cash, you know? But for the average person, especially if they're just getting started, it's really difficult for them to say, Rob, this $80,000, it's all that I have, man. And if I have to put all this down on a down payment, but as soon as you know that and you understand it, you can start to dissect the problem and say, okay, well, maybe there's something we can do. Maybe we can get the seller to credit something back. Yeah. Maybe you have access to equity in your home, right? There's so many different ways to solve that problem, but you can't solve it if you don't know what the fuck the problem is.
You're right. And that's my job, right? Is to dig in. So I go, okay, you say you can't. Why? Tell me about, well, you know, why? You know, what's going on with you? Like, tell me about it. It's okay. Look, I'm a confidential professional, like, you know, financial advisor almost, right? But like, I'm not licensed for that. But, you know, I'm not trying to judge you or anything else. Like, if you make a lot of money, that's fantastic. I'm not mad about it. If you're not making a ton of money, that's fine too. I'm not mad about that either. It's just literally like, I want to understand your situation. Where are you at in this investor journey? And then how can I help you if I can help you?
Yep.
You know, and it might be you're at credit repair.
Yeah. You might not be ready yet, but I can help you get there.
It was interesting. I ran into a lady. She called me, I think maybe off of YouTube, and she was, I have a YouTube channel, Rob Lawrence Team. You can check it out. Anyway, she called me and she said, I just paid $9,000 for a flipping course. And I said, I was like, well, do you have any money? She's like, not really. Like, I'm pretty much flat broke. I put that on a credit card. It's like the third time I've tried to take a course. I know I need this to change my life. And I was like, stop. I was like, stop it. It's like, that's not what I want to see you do. And the lady like started crying to me on the Zoom call. I just met her, you know, and I just said to her, I was like, look, I'm so sorry for you're trying to achieve a dream, you know, and you think this is a way to go about it, and you're getting taken advantage of by, and you know, I'm sure the course is good, you know, I'm sure it does, but no one ever took the time to say, where are you at?
Yeah.
Hey, I'm not going to sell you this course. You're not ready to buy this course.
Yep.
Right. You're at this stage. This is what you need to learn how to budget and manage your own finances and, you know, whatever it is. Right. So it's like caring about people. That's what it really comes down to. Is like, okay, I want to try to care about you, and that means understanding you, and that means and then understanding your goals, hopes, and dreams, and then going, okay, like, let's not dream about having the beach house. Let's make a plan so in 3 years you have one in, you know, Ventnor or whatever, wherever you like to go. So, you know, that's a really again, a thing I'm passionate about is just like, all right, like everybody's at a certain point in their personal journey, and you can't force the wrong solution onto someone because you can hurt them.
Dude, absolutely. You
can really hurt them. And that's not our goal here. Our goal is here to serve people. Like, that's how we all get paid, serving people.
Well, of course. Right? And you get paid even better when you have repeat clients, right? When somebody comes to you and they get burned on a deal because you advise them to overpay for it, they're never coming back. Like, you know, even if you were a heartless piece of crap, which you're not, but, you know, like that wouldn't be good for business anyway, you know?
Yeah, exactly, man. It's just really about, business is long-term relationships, planning. I mean, like, there's reviews online now.
Proof's in the pudding.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want to hurt anyone, and we're professionals. Like, our job is to help we help other people make money, we make money.
Yep.
But like, I just can't in good conscience, like, go and charge someone $5,000 and go, this person, you know, to mentor them, for example, like, your money spent was obviously really good. Yep. You were at the right stage to accept that help, and it was the right move for you. So, you know, or if you paid $9,000 for it, probably still would have been fine.
Yep.
Right. But there's another person, they don't even got the $9,000. They're putting it on the Costco credit card or whatever. And like, now they're $9,000 in the hole. They still haven't executed anything because they can't. Right. Because they got other problems that are, you know, way back here that they're not getting addressed by this course. They're not ready for this course. They might need the Dave Ramsey baby step course, you know, or whatever it is. So
it's not one size fits all.
No, you really have to understand people, meet them where they are, and then say, okay, how can I help you? And that's like a professional's dynamic.
Yep.
right?
There needs to be a consultation. How can I give you advice?
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, okay, it's like trying to go to the doctor and just say like, okay, here's antibiotics. Like, doctor, I don't, my leg's broken.
Yeah.
I need a cast, not antibiotics.
But antibiotics work, Rob. They work.
I'm allergic to antibiotics, you know what I mean? So it's
same thing.
Exactly. Yeah. You don't take any time to diagnose the actual issue. And again, that comes back to intention. Right. So like, I think sales is all about intention. If I have an intention to help someone, I don't need to worry about what language I use. Like, did I use the word if, or are you open to, or this or that? Right. Like if my intention is like, yo, I want to make you $100,000, right? I can curse. I might show up late, whatever. It doesn't actually really matter. If I really do deliver on that, are you really going to care?
And it's clear, because people can tell. They can feel it. They can not necessarily see. Like, it's not just about hearing the words that you're saying. It's a feeling that I get. Does Rob really believe in what he's telling me that he wants to help me do?
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, it's not something I wouldn't do personally. Like, then I won't do it for someone. Like, I wouldn't do it to someone else. Like, I did a live and flip. I'm passionate about that. I've seen so many investors start that way. I can see that that's the clear step, and I can see that that's a clear right next journey for people a lot of the time.
I love it.
A lot of the time. And so it's like, okay, I'll give the course away for free. I don't care.
Yep.
I'll make it. I'll give it away for free. It took me 10 years to acquire that knowledge. That's fine. I'll just put it right out there. And if I end up helping them, great. If I don't end up helping them, okay, too.
Yep.
Like, I help that person, even maybe indirectly.
Yep.
So it's like, if you're passionate, you have the intention, like, okay, my intention is to really help people, then that's going to shine right through. People feel it.
Yep.
I always tell, like, when I'm training people with sales, I'm like, just have the right intention. And if you can't be genuine with someone, go back and work on yourself.
Yep.
Right. And work on what angle you're approaching things from. Because if you're approaching it from, I need to get a commission right now, or I need to make money so I can pay my mortgage, or whatever it is. It's
going to shine through too.
It shines right through, and you have commission breath, which stinks. And, people don't use you. Yep. And, it's all about being like, in the Bible, it says, be a cheerful giver. Be so excited to give, and like, they're talking about that in church to collect, money in the pot, which is fine. But I actually think that has like a way deeper meaning, right? Because like right now, what are we doing? We just both took time out of our schedules to do this podcast to try to deliver value to people, right? Cheerfully, right?
Exactly.
Excited.
Right.
I'm excited to do this. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited for the opportunity. And I'm like, I can give this information out. And I'm excited to give that course out. I'm excited about the software you're doing, how that could help people. Like, it's like you want to create and give it out. And of course we got to make a living. We got to do our thing, but we get paid for execution. We get paid for results. Right.
Yep.
And I love that. I love that about what I do. Like, I get paid for a result. So like, that really keeps you on point, I think, too, when you're trying to teach somebody. Cause it's like, well, I just did enough to collect the money for the course versus, hey, I taught them how to do it. I got paid for doing it. Right. That's a different mindset about how you're teaching.
Well, it's fulfilling and satisfying for you too. Once you do get to that finish line, and it's like, there's no question of, do I deserve this paycheck I got? It's like, no, they got the result and I got paid. This is a win all the way around.
Yeah. Yeah. I just had another one. That's like, it actually was a wholesaler, and I had a good deal. They bought that deal. They just flipped that deal. I'm assuming they made over $100,000, and that's awesome. Yep. I'm super happy for them. Like, I made my commissions and things like that, but they made way more than I made. Hopefully. I think they did. When I look at that, it's like, all right, great. Like, I'm giving out. And if I can do that cheerfully, happily, and I don't have resentment about it or whatever, again, it attracts people.
It does, man.
But if you're a taker, if you're just trying to take your commission or insert yourself into a deal or do this or do that to take, people feel that it's repulsive. They hate it. They don't want to be around you, and your business goes down.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. What do you think about the state of the economy and the market from the perspective of a real estate investor that's looking to get in today, whether they want to buy their first flip, they want to buy their first rental, or they want to do their first live-in flip? Like, what do you see happening in the next 6-12 months?
Yeah. I mean, I think the interest rates will probably drop a little bit. We've been waiting for that to happen. Maybe that will, if the government gets their act together with overspending, there'll be less debt they're issuing. Hopefully that will help drive interest rates down. You know, in our area, there's not a lot of areas to build additional housing. So we kind of have like a constricted supply of housing. And, you know, I think Westchester, for example, I live in Westchester. I believe in that area. I love it. And, you know, they're not building other single family houses. So there's just a finite supply and a lot of people that realize, hey, Chester County is an awesome place to live, good schools, like, you know, weather's okay and not in the winter, but it's nice other times. Beautiful place, hills, rolling hills, all that stuff. So, you know, I think there's just going to be a solid continued demand in the Northeast. I think that the housing markets that are getting in trouble are the ones where they could build a lot, like Texas, Florida, like those places. And like, you know, they overbuilt or they built too much, and Florida has some other problems as well. So you have to look at like things locally. For sure. You know, it's interesting because like problems in some parts of the housing market and the other parts of the country might spur the government to take action to stimulate the housing market.
Dude, it could.
And then like you've got an already pretty hot market in the Philly suburbs. So that could even heat that up even more. Like, okay, we're going to try to drop interest rates to help Florida and Texas or whatever. And all of a sudden, by the way, you know, New Jersey right now is super hot, for example. Don't work in Jersey, but that's what I hear. And yeah, so I mean, I kind of am the kind of person, like with my investing, I'm fundamental on what's the conditions right now. Does the deal work right now? Right. So that's how I operate. And then what happens. I think it's challenging right now to make rentals cash flow.
It is.
At current interest rates. I think there's still a lot of equity plays to be made. So, you know, shifting a lot of my investors towards flipping rather than buying and holding has been a play. You know, but I do think like if you can stomach maybe a little bit of loss of cash flow on an investment, hey, when the rates do drop, all of a sudden that becomes a fantastic investment. It appreciates in value.
Printing money, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like that's what I'm looking at with this multifamily, you know, deal. It's like, okay, yeah, it can work right now, but like, man, if the rates dropped and now you're looking at a cap rate that you could sell it at 6 instead of 7, that's a huge increase in the value of that portfolio.
Yep.
You know, so that creates a huge opportunity for someone. And then, yeah, you can be potentially even refinanced at 5 instead of 7. You know, man, the cash flow just improves dramatically. Everything. But hey, if it doesn't and you're locked in where you are, I mean, at least you can buy a deal that works and then it's okay.
Yep.
You know, so it's kind of like just trying to plan for upside. I always love Robert Kiyosaki. He says, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm just ready for whatever happens.
Dude, I love that. I love that.
You know what I mean?
That's the thing. At the end of the day, it's like, it doesn't even matter if you have intimate inside market knowledge or whatever, because nobody really knows. There's so many variables. Anything could change at any moment.
Yeah.
And yeah, just being ready is the most important thing. Like my crystal ball is broken, dude. I don't know what values are going to be a year from now. I don't know what rents are going to be like. You know, everybody typically says rents never go down. Even if real estate values go down, rent shouldn't correlate. Who knows though, man? It could happen. Rent control could happen, and probably not in this administration, but it could, you know.
It could, yeah.
Now rent cannot increase more than 5%, right? Like
you kind of got to, you know, one of the good things is I'm selling maybe 2 houses a week, so I have a really good pulse on what the market feels like. So I can say this much right now: the market's fairly competitive, fairly hot. Seeing some stuff go above asking or selling first weekend, pretty typically, maybe a little bit above asking. I've seen some stuff go crazy above asking. You know, so it's a I would say a typical spring market. We still have tight inventory in the Northeast. You know, if you look at the inventory levels before COVID in Florida, the inventory's about, I don't know, 10% higher or 17% higher. So like, you know, if you kind of take that as a benchmark. In the Northeast, we're still like 50% below pre-COVID levels, right? I think we're about half, you know, of where we typically were. Maybe Chester County, for example, had 1,100 houses for sale. Now it's got about 550.
Yeah.
You know, so when you look at that, you're still in a restricted supply in our area. And again, they cannot create inventory. And there's a lock-in effect with the interest rates.
Yeah.
They've seen the average age of the average seller and the average buyer go up significantly because people are selling that really have to sell, like going into assisted living, or they passed away, or, whatever. So you're seeing like people that have a house that kind of don't want to move. So, because it's like, oh, I'm going from paying 3% on a $300,000 loan to 7% on a $600,000 loan. Yeah. It's like 3, 6, 4x what I'm paying right now.
It's insane. Yeah.
I can put up with being a little cramped right now. So there's sort of this lock-in effect from the interest rate. There's no housing supply that, for the most part, I mean, they can build a house here and there, but it's not a significant percent. Yep. So there's a restriction from just available land and zoning and all that stuff. And, we still are half of pre-COVID inventory levels. And even though interest rates are a bit higher, it is harder on buyers. There's still just a match between buyers and sellers in terms of how many there are.
Yeah.
There's less sellers, there's less buyers.
For sure.
Seeing, I think last year was the lowest number of transactions in like 34 years.
Which is a crazy stat.
Right. But again, it's basically buyers are getting squeezed from higher interest rates and prices, and sellers are not really able to sell as easily, and there's less of them. So like you come together with just a lower number of buyers and a lower number of sellers kind of still meeting at the same price or even higher prices.
Yep.
It's probably people need a place to live.
Yep.
And they want houses. They want to have the American dream. And there's, like I said, this is a great place to live, good job, economy, all that stuff. So
for sure.
I just don't see a housing crash or anything coming to the Philly suburbs anytime soon. I don't see insane appreciation coming anytime soon unless rates drop to like some crazy low level. But, I think they're just going to go smooth and steady.
Slow and steady, which is good. That's what ultimately we should strive for, is slow and steady. We don't always get it. Yeah. Let me ask you real quick, what do you think about the future of the safety of agents with some of the stuff going on with the NAR lawsuit and then some of the stuff with AI advancing and everything? What are your thoughts?
Well, I think that if you were just somebody that would try to scrape a lead and open a door and write a contract, like your job's going away.
Your days are numbered, yeah.
But I think it's interesting, like this software was like, hey, what's your offer to buyers that you're going to give them out of your commission, And I said, right in that box, I'm going to help you make $50,000 to $150,000 when you buy a house with me, right? What is that? That's a value approach, right? So if you can bring value as an agent, I think you can get paid as much or even more because you're making that person money. You're making that person make a great decision, right? So if you're not trained, you don't know what you're doing, you don't have the expertise in houses, you're just flopping around. And they've actually seen this, that the top agents are getting more and more of the business while the people straggling are getting less and less. And again, now, if you don't know how to negotiate for your commission as a person who doesn't do a lot of deals, you're not going to get paid at all, and you're just going to die and fall off the vine. Really, that's what it's going to come down to. So the people that know how to get value, because now buyers are interviewing buying agents like they are listings.
Yep.
Right? So when someone lists a house, a lot of times they interview multiple agents and really consider and negotiate and everything. Buyer, it was kind of a thing in real estate. It's like, oh, getting a buyer is easy. Like you just, you show up, you open the door, you write the contract for them, and you're going to get paid, right? But that's all stopping basically. Now the buyer goes, well, wait a minute, I'm contractually on the hook for your commission.
Yeah.
And it's like, yes, you are. Are you willing to do that with me?
Yeah. I want to make sure you're a damn good fit now. Right?
Exactly.
Yep.
So if you can't sit down and present value, right? What's them to just go straight to the listing agent, have them write up the contract and save themselves some money.
Yep.
So, again, I think it always comes back to givers and takers. If you were a taker as an agent, you're getting taken out.
Yep.
Right.
And dude, perception is everything, right? It's like from the average buyer or seller consumer perception, it's very easy for them to be like, well, a listing agent, all they do is they took pictures of my house and they listed it online and then they sold it. I can't justify my $800,000 house paying 3% commission to a listing agent when that's all they do. Now, we know there's a lot more that's actually done and hand-holding and transactional coordinate, a whole lot of stuff. But from their perspective, that's what they see because that's what the average consumer talks about. All that this guy did is he took pictures, put it online, and the house sold itself. Like Zillow sold the house, not that listing agent. So exactly like you said, and this is my point that I like to bring up to people, and that's where communication ties into it at such a deep level, because those who are able to communicate well, no matter what industry we're talking about, there's always going to be a place for you, because AI is coming for everybody's freaking jobs, man. It's coming for everybody.
I get that.
But if you can connect with people at a deep level, and like you said, able to convey your interest in helping them get to their desired outcome, dude, there's always going to be a place for that, because people are, whether they're cognizant of it or not, they want that human connection no matter what. Right? Yeah, so it is going to be the top performers taking more market share, and the low-level guys that aren't willing to commit and be the best, they're going to go away.
Yeah, I just say like, hey, getting licensed is easy, but then you got to beat me.
That's right.
You got to beat me. And I'm training all the time. I'm trying to be my best. I'm a smart guy. I'm involved. I'm doing a lot of deals. I'm taking free throws all day. I make a lot of free throws, So like, it's just so interesting. Like, and one of the things I do too is a performance-based commissions. So like when I sell a house, like if I get X price versus other price, my commission percentage can change. I've never heard that. Yeah. Well, again, that's like saying, hey, I know I can perform. I'm going to tell you with my money, right? You worried about, I'm just going to hire this guy who's going to flop it on the market. It's like, no, I'm going to this because I'm going to get paid more, and you're going to get paid more. You're going to get paid way more than I'm going to get paid more, by the way.
Dude, I love that.
But yeah, it's a performance-based commission. So, I've got one of those, again, I just signed, and it's like, how do you just show that you're committed to providing value to the client, right? Because it's like, hey, you can sell a house yourself. And it's like, would you ever hire me to sell a house? Well, what if I can get $50,000 more? Yeah. Right. And
paid for itself. And then you put a lot of extra money in your pocket too.
Exactly. So the pay for performance is an interesting concept that I've really maybe done a little bit quietly, because I don't talk a lot about commissions, but I think it's a way to really get out of that. Well, are you 2.5%? You're 3%? Are you this or that? It's like, well, it depends how much you get paid. Yep. And if I get you paid really well, then I would like to be paid well. And if I don't, then I don't think I should get paid that well.
That's right. Dude, I like that. I like that. That's sharp. I never heard of that before. I like that.
Well, yeah. I mean, only if you believe in yourself and you're really trying, and we run Facebook ads for every property we sell, and it's not that I don't collect leads from them. I just run them to sell my houses for more. I run them to get more people through the open houses.
I love that.
They're not like, there's no lead form. Like, you can click on all the links and anything. There's nothing that collects your information.
No crap.
In any of the Facebook ads that I run. So it's all about the seller. It's all about, man, we just ran 4 open houses.
To be honest with you, I think you're the first person that I've ever heard say that they even do some form of external marketing to sell a property. So boom, there, even in itself.
Right, because if you get like 10,000 people to see the property before it's the market, you've got different video content going out there, here's the open house event, that's promoted. You've got bigger and better signs. Like my signs, it was one of those things I worked on. I was like, no one can read my sign when they drive by. I want them to be able to see my name big enough, and they're driving 35 miles an hour, and they can read my phone number.
I love it.
They could take a picture on their phone, and they'd be able to read that, And it's like, why are we putting these little tiny letters on these signs and this little tiny face? It's like, it's a sign. Like, you're trying to sell a house.
Grab the attention, baby.
Open house sign should point you in the right direction. You should get, anyway, it's just these little tiny touches that, again, is all about like trying to deliver a result, getting results driven. And getting results driven with the clients in terms of their investing careers and their lives, getting involved with the sellers in terms of their performance, and like, okay, hey, you can take all different strategies too. Like sometimes it's like, hey, we're pricing a little high here because this has got no good comps, but I'm going to shoot this, and all right, we're going to price a little low here. And
there's a lot of strategy that goes into it. That's the thing. But from the perception of the average consumer, buyer or seller, it's hard to see that. It's hard to know. It's hard to understand.
It's so much. There's so much to it. I mean, in any profession, again, you can be bad at anything very easily, right? Like that doesn't take much work.
That's true.
A lot of people can pay a $500 listing service to put their house up. They're taking pictures with their cell phone, doing no promotion. They priced it wrong. They've got some information in there incorrect. They don't know what's important to buyers. They don't know what to say to people. There's just a ton of things you can do wrong, right?
100%.
And it was interesting. Like even like, hey, like, why didn't you negotiate harder here? You know, you could have got more money. Could you?
Yeah, I could have also fucked the deal up though too. You know, dude, it's going back to when I was first starting and I was flipping houses and everything. It's like I had a perception shift throughout this, right? Because we would buy all of our houses and we would buy some from the MLS. We bought some direct from wholesalers, some we did direct marketing, whatever. But once we rehabbed and resold them, me in my, you know, infinite wisdom, I was like, I'm going to list them with a flat rate brokerage myself to save the money because it's only going to cost me $300 instead of, the percentage or whatever. And I did that for years. And since I did that successfully for years, my perception was, anybody should do this. Like, it's actually really simple. Right. Reality is now, once I started scaling up and everything, I started to see the pitfalls and issues with that because it wasn't just that, you pay a flat rate service and, you know, the house sells itself. It was me doing all the work of a listing agent.
You're a good salesman.
But I undervalued the amount of effort, energy, and time that I put into it. So when I tried to remove myself from that process and have like an assistant do what I thought I was doing, it's like, it didn't freaking work anymore, you know? Nope. So it's like, oh my God, I was just doing all the work and I didn't I didn't correlate my time and energy to the outcome. I was just like, I only spent $300 and, you know, I saved a bunch of money.
Well, you're good at sales.
Not true, dude.
You're good at sales. You're a good negotiator. You have a lot of skills. And it's easy to take our skill sets for granted because everybody 100%. Looks at sales as like, the guy's got a slick back hair. He's at the used car dealership or whatever, right? Yep. But it is, if you're a really great salesperson is worth their weight in gold. And like, you can make a ton of money just being good at that. But like you walked into that, you already knew how to, you were acquiring
I knew the business,
the
I knew the industry, you know? And it's like, my friends were agents, my friends were flippers, you know? So I did the work. Right. And then as soon as I tried to remove myself from the process, I'm like, this isn't a process. It's not. It's me. And if you remove me from the role, it falls the hell apart. And even, so I realized.
And even like how good you were at it and how good, you know, and it's not like you could have replaced yourself with any agent, but if you got the absolute best agent in that role that you possibly could, they would have been slightly better or a lot better than you because they'd be super, super, super dialed in. The problem is a lot of people don't want to let go of that control, that trust, you know, or just saying, hey, like, is that agent really going to be better than me? And it would have been hard to find someone better than you because you are good. Yep. So that's also an aspect.
That can be golden handcuffs in a way as well, but you know.
Right. Yeah. I'm a smart guy. I can do a lot of things. It just starts to get harder to outsource things. You have to like learn to do that if you're going to try to grow in your business and professionally and everything else. Cause it's like, okay, I need a team of 6 now. I could not physically do what my team does. Yep. Even though I'm capable, it's like, if I could work like 19 hours a day, but I got a family, I want to do that. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
You know?
So as we try to land the plane here, if you could go back to when you started your real estate journey, knowing what you know now, having the experiences that you have now, would you have done anything differently?
You know, it's so hard to say because obviously like the painful experience I went through the first time, you know, shaped so much of, you know, my passion and I think how I can relate to other people and everything. But just from like, let's just say a financial standpoint, that first buy side, I think there was a number of things. I don't know that either I shouldn't have bought a house, period, or I should have bought a lot differently than I did. And I wish I had gotten something way, way cheaper, more distressed than I had. And then had mentorship around me and community around me in that space so I could have learned. You know, I was maybe, you know, cocky is a word we used earlier, but maybe I was just maybe in a way arrogant that, I can just figure this out on my own. Yep. And I think if I had gotten into community and I had really like put a little bit more effort into learning about what I was about to try to do, and with the magnitude of that financial situation, I could have easily made 100 instead of losing 50. So when I look at that again, like that's what I'm like sort of seeking to correct for others, you know, and maybe, like from a pure, like that was a bad financial decision and also sort of a bad life decision at that time based on some of the other challenges I was facing. So anyway, so that's probably something I would have done a little bit differently. other than that, I mean, gosh, we all wish we bought every house before COVID, right?
Oh, my goodness.
It's like...
Dude, when I look back at the houses that I wholesaled over the last 5 years, I'm like, man, if I just kept another 25% of them, the amount of net worth that I would have accumulated, it's disgusting.
Isn't it something that we can try to change today, right?
But everything that you just said there, it's, again, very apparent that is what matters and what drives you, because you're on the other end of it today. You're running an investor meetup and everything.
Yeah,
you're putting out content on YouTube. You have a free course that you put out there. You are living what you're preaching, right? It's like community is so important. Being around the people that are actually doing the things, walking the walk, and living the life that you want is the most important thing, man. And it's really, really cool watching you do that and everything and bringing that community to people.
Thank you, man. It's cool watching you as well. I think that's true freedom, right? That's true financial freedom, and that's true life freedom, when you can just drop all the bullshit and do what you want and what you feels right? That's freedom. So it doesn't mean not working. It doesn't mean sleeping on a beach or whatever. It's like, it's about just doing what is in your heart, what your passions are, and like, that's what we can do for other people too. Like, real estate might not be their exact passion, but like, if we can help give them more freedom, free their soul, so to speak, in some way, shape, or form.
It can be a vehicle towards freedom, whatever that might mean for them.
Exactly. So,
That's powerful, man. That's impactful.
Yeah, brother.
Any last thoughts you want to drop here? Any plugs?
I just, check roblawrenceteam.com. Go to the Invest, Live, and Flip course. There you can reach out to me. My information will be, I'm sure, down below. Yep. You can Google me, Rob Lawrence, Rob Lawrence Team. They're my cell phones right there. I'm accessible. Obviously, I want to help as many people as I can. Bring me the live and flip people. Come on, people.
Live and flip
Let's
people,
go.
Man.
That's
We're branding you as the live and flip extraordinaire, man. I love it.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Drew. Thanks for showing me your software as well. That's been really cool. And
absolutely, man.
Appreciate getting to know you and look forward to getting to know you more.
Rob Lawrence, thanks so much.
Yeah, brother. Appreciate it.
Boom.